Hello, Internet. I hope you've been well. It's been a minute, but we're back. I feel like I say this every video, but apologies for the delay. I've been holed up in my cabin, brewing my witch's brew, and fresh out the cauldron, I cooked up something a little different for you guys. Today, we are going to prove once and for all if I really am the Internet's biggest hater on the next installment of Was It Overrated, Mother? Oh my god, I need help. I've seen a couple mixed reviews on this one, and I was excited to dive in and see what it was all about. If you have eyes, and assuming you clicked on this thumbnail for a reason, you'd know we're going to be talking about Ryan Murphy's New Monsters, Ed Gein edition. As always, if you're new here, consider liking the video if you did, consider subscribing if you don't want to miss out on any other of my raves, rants, and complaints alike. Definitely comment though. I can see you, not typing. I'm looking right at you right now, not doing it. Alright, without further ado, let's hit this shit. I'm gonna say it.
I don't care that you broke your elbow.
I was not entirely sure how much I liked this series to begin with, and in a way, it kind of felt like I was doing something wrong by watching it. And maybe that was the intention? So with that being said, I guess the question on everyone's mind is it worth a watch? Well, I definitely watched it, to say the least. The first episode was really good, I thought. It set a very interesting stage, but at the same time, something I struggled with in the series as a whole was that they really try to paint Ed as this sympathetic character, almost right off the bat. They compare Ed and his brother to Cain and Abel. There's some mice and men influence there as well, kind of like this gentle giant theme where he doesn't know his own strength, but this time around it really focuses on the mental illness made me do it aspect of it. And towards the end, they pose a very interesting question of if he was like faking it or not, although they make it very clear that he wasn't. They also go out of their way to paint him as this Christ-like figure for other killers, and we see how Ed has to live and sit with what he did after he's able to really comprehend the scale of it once he gets treated for his schizophrenia. And it really feels like he dies feeling absolved and seen and heard and free of any personal responsibility and guilt. I don't know, Ryan Murphy's like about to guest star in Dexter at this point, bro. And he really kind of radicalizes this idea of nationalism and Christianity throughout the series and comparing them back and forth, treating it almost like a scapegoat for his actions. Like, they give every opportunity in this series to really make it seem like Ed Gein was the victim here. I'm just not sure how to feel about it, because it is interesting, and it's funny because that's literally one of the themes they try to drive home. Art imitates life and pushing real-world boundaries, and it holds a mirror to society as it's recognizing it's becoming numb to itself. But I guess a bigger question is, was it tasteful? Was it tastefully done? I mean, you see some fucked up shit. It's definitely gory, and I'm not like particularly offended by gore, but they really paint a visceral picture of every murder and mutilation, which is surprisingly one of the more accurate things to the real life counterpart. Themes were great, you know, I'm a big theme guy. I kind of focus more so on that and the narrative. So it was interesting, especially with seeing the impact on Psycho and Chainsaw Massacre and other inspired killers and artists as well. Again though, you know, they very much paint Ed like he's this tragic, Christ-like queer icon who's a victim of mental illness and society. And I just feel like it really wanted to get the point across that violence begets more violence and really highlight this generational cycle of trauma in the nuclear family. And it's definitely showcased in an interesting way, using film and photography as a medium. And then that's directly juxtaposed to other killers and like queer lifestyle that people considered degenerate at the time. And they paint it as a symptom directly linking back to this idea of post-war nihilism. So he's kind of like patient zero of the rage virus from like 28 Days Later in a way. One of the things I did love about it though was the cinematography of it. I loved the camera work. I loved the way it was shot. It was very modern, how they merged different eras together seamlessly. Definitely kept my attention, and that was definitely the highlight for me. It kept me engaged even when I considered dropping it, just because it's a lot, bro. Like, this series is not for the faint of heart, just a disclaimer. And my real favorite first scene was with the Psycho actor where Ed is staring at him, and they kind of blended those timelines together for the first time. Just the eeriness of it and the parallels they pull in comparing their degeneracies, not the box part. That was gross. A lot of this show was gross. I can't stress that enough. I usually like to eat when I watch things, and I did not eat when I watched this, nor do I recommend it. But anyways, it was just so chilling, and they kind of set up Tony for this really interesting B-plot that unfortunately went nowhere. And that's kind of another theme that we're gonna see. I wish they just honed in on like Ed Gein, one other influence in art like Tony, and then maybe one more killer in like the real world that he inadvertently inspired, and just kind of bounced between those couple narratives to tie that generational cycle together. But they really did overdo it, I think. And just start throwing a bunch of directors and serial killers and things at the wall to prove one point, which is like the same point over and over again I feel like they keep making. Don't get me wrong, when you see how the series portrays what influences him and then what he inadvertently ended up influencing, it's very interesting. But at a certain point, I think they should have just cut down all the general references and just pick a few and develop them a little more as the series progressed. With that being said, my favorite parts of the series were pretty short-lived. The Germany stuff with Elise, I think her name was, the bitch of Bucknan or whatever, was definitely fucked up for one thing, but I always was like on the edge of my seat when she was there, and I feel like it was the most developed of the B plots, and I think it had to be because they really justify Ed's fascination with her macabre works, and I just wish the other plots got as much attention. I really liked Tony's part as well, and they kind of just like teased us with glimpses of great foils for Ed that I wanted more of. The cop, Bernice's son, I think, when he killed her and he kind of went crazy and sold all her shit. Like, that was interesting and it was developed slightly. That was something we could have seen more of. And it's just like little instances scattered here and there. I would have preferred less influences on screen and more development for the few they highlighted, I think, is my point. Like the shoe guy or whatever, I could have done without. But when I feel like they introduced Ted, that Ed claims he helped catch, that could have been explored more, and I think that would have been a very interesting influencee to have highlighted. I'm also not really gonna shit on it for like historical accuracy. Like, there are so many obvious liberties taken. It didn't stifle anything for me. I wasn't going into this under the impression it was 100% accurate. I'm just mostly trying to view it from the scope of a fictionalized dramatization. Especially since, I mean, it's Ryan Murphy produced, you know, it's clearly marketed as fiction. But yeah, that was what I liked about it. Voltron memes activate, go. Now, if you're still with us, let's get to the real reason why you're here. Yes, we're going to hate on it. Tastefully though. Nothing mean, okay? Just constructive criticism here. I'm not actually a hater, it's just funny jokes, bro. Like, okay, disclaimer out of the way. One of the most frustrating things in the series for me was like how this guy is very clearly a maniac. There's literally a witness to him pulling up to Mary's place before she dies, and the police interrogate him and just believe him. Like, didn't they bury his mother? How does no one know she's dead? It's like, so, it's just like he's so weird that no one wants anything to do with him. So the second he opens his mouth, they just like let him do whatever he wants. And it's this idea of weaponized incompetence that's portrayed often that just like lets him kill this bitch in broad daylight. It's like crazy, and I have so much trouble buying it, how they presented it. And I just feel like the series for me was riddled with believability issues, and yes, I get it, he's an unreliable narrator and schizophrenic, so it's hard to know what he's seeing is true or not. But I think they were very clear about what was real and what wasn't. There's artistic ways for them to paint this picture of like remorse and self-rationalization as well, which they do a few times, especially with his brother's death and that first look into his stunted psyche, which I thought was done very well, probably the best way they portrayed it in the series. But then there are a lot more times where it's just like things turn green. And we don't really see the struggle anymore in his mind with coping the reality of it. It was kind of lazy, I think, is the word for it, and it kind of just devolves into, there goes Ed, just killing again. And like, I found that just to get through watching the series, I had to suspend my disbelief a lot, and so that sparks a thought in itself, though. Is that good? Good, could, should, would.
Good, could, should, hood. Good, mug, dug, bug.
Like, should the series be making me question every single decision in it, in a series where the main character's schizophrenic? Yeah, I guess? I don't know. I just feel like not really in this case. And I think what it is that those questions are more so sparked by the heavy-handedness rather than the narrative. And honestly, this makes me question the validity of my own channel Insanity, because as I'm writing the script, I'm realizing like literally everything I've covered so far inadvertently is about people who are schizophrenic. Like, it makes me question, are you guys watching even real? Are you all just in my head? Leave a comment, let me know. Tell me if you're real or not, or just another demon I have to fight off. That coat is fresh though, I gotta say. Dude's drip was immaculate, wardrobe popped off, so I can't even blame him for the amount of sex scenes. Like, I wasn't a fan of them, living or dead, and way too many dead for my comfort, but I can't blame him, I guess. Swag aside, they were very uncomfortable to sit through though, like... I don't know, if you enjoyed them, get some help, bro. I genuinely don't understand who would want to fuck this guy. Like, yes, he is unreasonably hot, but like, does everyone in this fucking town have schizophrenia or something? Like, what is in the minds here that all these baddies feel like they have no other options? And speaking of baddies, I really didn't like Adeline's character too much. She just went from like town weirdo to master manipulator, out of nowhere to like pathetic loser, and it just feels like she really went through great lengths to go absolutely nowhere and do nothing with her character. And they try to tie it together very loosely and paint her with this depiction of mania in the end. There's another victim complex we see here, and it's just like, I don't buy it. It missed the mark, I think, so much so that I really started to question if she was even a real character at that point. And I thought once we see Ed leave her after the visitor room or whatever, that she was gonna disappear and like be revealed to be in his head the whole time. In addition to romanticizing Ed Gein, though, they also very much sexualized him. Charlie Hunnam as him, I think that's his name, literally speaks for itself and promotes the same problem that they took 8 hours to drill into your minds. I'm sure every guy's girlfriend after watching this series either wants to fuck this guy or take care of him. Jokes aside, they really didn't have to do all that. Very conscious decision on their part. And to top it all off, with the meanest cherry on top, let's introduce the woman who really gave me a run for my money in the hater department. I think between Adeline and Mrs. Gein, I'm finishing 4th in the Monsters Hater Olympics. Bro, his mom is the biggest hater, and I found that fucking hysterical. Like, these sinful cold cuts fucking killed me. Like, the things she said made me laugh my ass off unironically. Like, she was such a bitch, and like twisted, and it really painted a picture of like the toxicity of religion. Things she said were just so fucking funny, bro. Another thing though, I don't know why they introduced this idea of Ed's fate being worse than jail or whatever, because he never really seemed outright tormented. Like, you start to think maybe that guy with the tits was right, and that he faked it because he's living pretty cushy in the psych ward. And like I said, he finds a way to forgive himself, so he really got a good deal, it seems like. All in all, I definitely watched it. It was a series I watched from start to end. And now, to answer the question once and for all, was the Ed Gein story overrated? Drum roll, please. It was alright. Whack. Well, that's the video, internet. Let me know what you guys think. And like I said, consider liking the video if you did. Consider subscribing if you want to catch up on all your horror-related bullshit with me. And leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let me know what it is you want to see next. And if you thought the Ed Gein story was overrated or not. Have a wonderful day or night, folks. Ghost Boy out. Till next time. Bam. Blah. Blah, blah, blah. No one watches these fucking outros.